Right. Welcome back to the Totally Average Gamers podcast. I'm K Burns 30 here with AB Cincinnatus and I Frostbite. Got to point the right way. It's the day after E3, so that's exciting stuff. Lots of news, lots of fun things that have gone on in the past week and a half, and we're going to get to all of it and give you all of our thoughts and everything we liked and didn't like and wished for and didn't get and failed bingo cards and all that stuff. Basically,
Oh no.
basically an extended news section. Let's just have a nice palate cleanser. Just talk about our personal gaming in the past week or so. ABC, what have you been up to?
All right, hold on. I'm just unplugging it from its USB power source.
Oh, he's got to get.
Because
He's got
I've got a Game Boy. I wanted to show you the fixed Game Boy.
Yes.
It actually has some work that has to be done on it still because the screen is a little off center. But this is the formerly yellow Game Boy Advance, and
Just for context, I received this Game Boy Advance when I was 12 years old, almost 20 years ago. So,
isn't that nice and bright?
oh yeah, who doesn't need a backlit screen? I wish I had a
And
backlit screen on that
yeah.
thing.
Well, you do. It's just not in your hands right now. But
I gave it to you to fix.
it was a cheap install. I can always
Yeah.
do another one.
Cool.
Very neat.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it took me like 20 to 30 minutes to do. Obviously, I didn't install the screen perfectly square, but I played around with Link's Awakening on it when I first finished it, and yeah, that is it. Other than playing on the TV, which is my default way of playing Game Boy games these days, that is probably going to be my go-to for portable GBA playing. But
I honestly always wish that Nintendo, when they released their SP, just gave you the same design with that stuff. Because I like the design of the Game Boy Advance, but I hate the fact that there's no backlight.
yeah, the SP is great because of how compact it is, though. So I understand its value in that sense. Anyway, I haven't played a whole lot since last we spoke because I still had a week left, I believe, of quarantine away from home, and I had no games on me. I've played some Animal Crossing here and there, but realistically, I haven't played a whole lot since I got home. Just spent my time working on that GBA.
Neat. Still, that's a cool project. What about you, Frostbite? Besides Monster Hunter, just more Monster Hunter.
Yeah, well actually I don't think I've played Monster Hunter since last Wednesday when we did the community night, which means this is definitely the longest I've gone since the game came out without playing it, I think. But I have been playing I've still been playing World of Warcraft Classic Burning Crusade launched, and just been trying to level up with my girlfriend. Been playing that every couple of days, I guess. It's a bit of a grind, but hey, that's what we signed up for. Also, I did pick up Game Builder Garage.
Oh
did you?
yeah, I decided I didn't want to do that. How is it though?
I haven't really gotten the time that I would like to sink into it to like really make something cool, but it's definitely a neat little tool. I mean, some people have already made some pretty impressive stuff with it. I don't think it's like quite to the same level as like is it called Dreams for PlayStation?
Yeah, Dreams, Maiden Dreams or Dreams, whatever it's called. Yeah, on the PS4.
I think that's a bit larger in scope. Like, I think you could totally make like an entire game with that if you wanted to. Whereas I think the Nintendo's Game Builder Garage seems like it's more, you can make a small kind of single screen game, or you could make like a single level of a game or something like that. It's a bit more limited in scope, but it's still pretty cool. Like, it's fun to mess around with, and they, I think they geared it more towards making it easier instead of making it powerful. So
Trying to
that's
get
just
people.
Well, it's a
balance.
teaching tool, right?
They want people to
Yeah,
be
somewhat.
interested, so they can breed future engineers.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
but it's fun to mess around with if you're interested in building games or programming. It's pretty cool, pretty fun.
I'm just gonna learn Unity when I have time.
Yeah. And other than that, I did play one more chapter of. I got back to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Played one more chapter of that. Uh, Hopefully I can finish that up sooner than later. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's mostly what I've been up to. What about you? You said you haven't been playing much of anything lately. I guess you've been busy, but
I'm playing packing. As you can
Yeah.
see, I'm moving in like 2 weeks, so been very, very busy with that. I actually do want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake some more because I just, claimed the free integrated
Oh, yeah.
upgrade. And I was playing it on PS5 anyway with the PS4 backwards compatibility stuff, so I'm excited to kind of dive back in and finish it up probably on PS5. But my PS5 is back in its box and ready to go to the new house, so it's going to be a few weeks before I get back to that. I only currently have 2 systems available to me. One is my Switch, undocked, but I haven't been playing much there, and the other is my 3DS. So I decided to go back and do Seasons and Ages, Oracle of Seasons and Ages, because I started them on stream like 5 months ago, and then really needed to stop that for some reasons. But I went back and I played Ages, and I played Seasons. No, I actually did the other way. I did Seasons and then Ages, and then I
Yeah,
did
we
Ages
voted on
again.
that.
Right, but then I did Ages again, and now I'm back on Seasons, so I'm actually doing them both ways, the link both ways. So I'm like near the end of the second playthrough of Seasons. So I actually really love those games, but it's much better to play them not on stream, to be for like 100 reasons. It's a really weird game to stream because it actually does better handheld than it does on an emulator. I don't know how to explain why.
I'm not surprised about that.
I don't know why though, because I don't have that problem with Link's Awakening, but those two games, for some reason, it just works better on the small screen. And I have them on the Virtual Console on 3DS. So that's actually like the only thing I've really played. I was going through the Game Pass stuff. What?
Question for you: when you play on 3DS, do you use the Game Boy border?
No.
Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
But no, I don't. I don't play with any of the funny things there. I just those games I have to actually jump back and forth between them too. So it's easy. I just kind of make it as simple as possible. Because you for those who have not played Oracle of Seasons and Ages, they link together through a password system. So I absolutely have to jump. Like I use the save features in those games to be able to jump quickly back and forth between them to go enter passwords. And I was just last night for like an hour before I went to bed, I was just hunting down some of the passwords on the linked seasons because I know where they all are on the other side. I usually do Seasons then Ages, but I do not know where they all are in the linked game of Oracle of Seasons. So it was fun kind of tracking those down. I think I got most of them by this point. I was going through some of the Game Pass stuff. Bethesda released a whole bunch more stuff on Game Pass, so I'm kind of making lists of stuff I might want to play. But I'm just not committing to anything before the move. It's a weird couple weeks. But yeah, there's going to be lots to play soon. An amazing amount of stuff to play. So last week we kicked off the summer Game Fest started with their kickoff on Wednesday, I believe. Is that right? No, Thursday. Thursday, and then we followed up with E3 for 4 consecutive days.
I don't know.
It was definitely Thursday.
It was Thursday because E3 started Friday, and we followed up with 4 consecutive days of E3. We're technically still in Summer Game Fest, but E3 is over, so we thought it'd be a great time to kind of break down everything with our E3 post-mortem. We'll actually start with the Summer Game Fest because that came first. So I think what we'll do is, we'll kind of go through every show, I wouldn't even call them all shows, honestly. All the big ones, all the big names. We'll go through each one that we watched. We covered lots of them right here. And, we'll just talk about what we thought worked, what didn't work, what we were excited about, what we were unfortunately disappointed about. And also, to keep in mind, there are still more shows coming this summer as part of Summer Game Fest. Sony has their show still coming up in a couple weeks, as well as EA has a show coming up, and those two are considered quite big. So if something you wanted didn't get announced, there's still time. So let's start with Summer Game Fest. Jeff Keighley, he got started on Thursday afternoon-ish, evening-ish. And ABC, you were really tuned into this one. You were really...
I really enjoyed this one.
So why don't you kick us off? Give us the highlights. Let's just kind of do a quick
all right,
recap here.
I'll give you a run through. So the first, I think it was the first thing this started with was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, a Borderlands spin-off, or I think it's a spin-off. It's not within Borderlands 3, right? It's not an expansion.
That's right.
It's like
It's a brand new
Borderlands in pseudo D&D style worlds, but with guns. So fantasy, but like guns in fantasy. I don't know. If you like Borderlands, you'll probably like this game. I'm not the biggest fan of Borderlands, but I can appreciate what they're doing. And Tiny Tina is a character from some of the Borderlands games. So that was the first thing that was considered, a big announcement. It had been leaked, I think, but nobody knew exactly what it was going to be. The next thing they showed was Metal Slug Tactics, which I can't speak for you guys, but like that was the big thing for me.
That looked really cool. Yeah, I was surprised.
I'm a huge Metal Slug fan. It doesn't come up very often, but like it is one of my favorite arcade games, and because it's an arcade game that has like dozens of ports for consoles and handhelds, it's one that I'm very much a fan of. There was a director's cut for Death Stranding for PS5. There were a bunch of smaller announcements for things like Jurassic World Evolution 2. There's an Among Us expansion coming. Lost Ark, a Korean MMO, is getting a Western release. Call of Duty Warzone released a Season 4 trailer. Salt and Sanctuary is getting a sequel, or maybe not a sequel, but another game from that developer called Salt and Sacrifice.
Call it a sequel.
Call it a sequel. Salt and Sanctuary was it's like a 2D side-scrolling Souls-like game.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like pretty psyched that that's getting another game. 2 Point Campus, which we already knew about because I think of the Sonic anniversary stream where they had like did you guys watch that? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we covered it a little bit.
Oh, so yeah, that's right.
There's content coming to 2 Point Campus or 2 Point Hospital.
2 Point Hospital, yeah.
Where it's like people in like giant Sonic and Knuckles and Tails,
that was kind of funny,
mascot costumes, and like they look really ridiculous. It's really, you should go take a look at it if you haven't seen it before. What else? There's some stuff coming to Rocket League. There's a bunch of small other titles that were announced. And then of course it ended with the world premiere for Elden Ring.
Not the world premiere for Elden Ring. Let's be clear. Elden Ring had been teased before.
Gameplay.
This was the first time we saw gameplay.
Sorry. And we got a release date for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, there were a lot of smaller announcements in there, but there were I would say probably 1, maybe 2 games for everyone. There were so many different genres represented. I think the only things that really aren't are like if you're looking for racing games, no, actually that's not true because there's stuff for Rocket League. So that's sort of
Rocket League is not in any way a racing game.
Sort of a cars game.
No.
No,
it's like calling Grand Theft Auto a racing game. It's not.
It could be. But no, there is something for everyone in that showcase though, and I think that Jeff Keighley ran a good show, and of course it was just the kickoff for Summer Game Fest, and it's going to go on for another month or so.
Yeah, and
but that was the first show of the week, and it was an exciting one.
So let's stop here and just kind of dissect some of the highlights here. I mean, look, I watched it. There were some really interesting things there. You mentioned a lot of them. It all got overshadowed at the very end of the show. Nobody came out of that show talking about anything else but Elden Ring. And for a lot of reasons. From Software has a great track record. Their last release was Game of the Year. Let's not forget that. I have never gotten more than a couple hours into a From Software game. I am lucky I have yet to break any controllers from a From Software game. But I am understandably excited about Elden Ring. It looks amazing. I'm sure it's still just another Souls game in many ways, but it looks like it's got a lot of other stuff to it, and we have that release date. which is a really big deal. Release date, even if it gets delayed, release dates means it's on track to something.
Right.
So this was the first time we've seen gameplay. It was teased a few years ago, and then pretty much radio silence. I don't think anything else from this show matters anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
sorry,
pretty
go for it.
exciting. Even Jeff Keighley himself was like visibly excited about.
But
showing that
also,
trailer.
I think he was excited that he can now not have people being like, "We know you have it. Where is
right.
where is Elden Ring?"
Yeah.
Because people were doing that to him for like weeks. They're like, "We know you have access to a trailer."
And I mean, I think what was really great about this is that about 2 months ago or so, one of an early trailer for Elden Ring that was never released was leaked onto the internet, and I watched it, and it's very disappointing.
It was like hand cam footage.
Yeah.
Super blurry. Yeah.
And some of that stuff, the blurriness, probably went into, the overall letdown of that trailer, but people were not happy. And like I said, let's think about From Software's last couple games, right? Sekiro was the last one, like I said, game of the year right there. Before that was probably Dark Souls 3, I think it was actually after
I think so.
after Bloodborne, right?
Mhm.
The other two Dark Souls games. Like, look, they have good games, so I don't know why anyone was really worried about Elden Ring. I'm telling myself now I'm not going to buy this game. I can't buy this game because I know I'm just going to hate this game. But I'm going to probably buy this game. Not finish it. Probably buy it still. Summer Game Fest was a nice taste. I wouldn't say there was a lot of stuff there that was hype worthy, but it was a very nice show, and Jeff Keighley knows how to keep a show moving.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. They showed a lot of cool stuff.
Actually, you know what? There's one game. There's one game that was shown. Let me see if I can find it. No, it wasn't that one. Never mind. I'm trying to think of what the game was. It showed up in Devolver's showcase as well. We'll get there, but there was another game that was shown off that I was like, oh yeah, I actually want to play that. We'll get back to it, I'm sure. The next thing that came up, the next showcase was Netflix's Geeked Week, which was
hold on,
sorry
guys, you can give me a chance to say my piece about
sorry, I thought for some reason you had, my bad.
I said
Go for
like
it.
2 sentences about Elden Ring. Yeah, I also thought it was really good. I wanted to point out some other things that I liked about it. I guess I don't have a lot of negative to say about it, but yeah, I wanted to mention also some more details about Elden Ring. There was some info that came out about it afterwards about some new sort of gameplay. Apparently it'll still have like summoning other players for cooperative play, but another thing that came out about it was some kind of mechanic about like capturing the souls of enemies and then using them to fight alongside you, so almost like a Pokemon sort of vibe in there.
Pokemon and Dark Souls.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought? So yeah, that game sounding super cool. Obviously, I'm a big fan of those games. One thing that I thought was weird about the presentation was Overwatch 2. The new director, I can't remember. Aaron Keller, I see his name here. The new director for Overwatch 2 showed up and basically showed off like 2 new character skins, and that was it. And I was like,
but I want it to be
that
known
wasn't really-
that I said here on this podcast to the two of you, we're going to see something from Overwatch 2. I don't know what it's going to be. We're going to see something.
Yeah.
Both of you are like, no, they don't care. It's not going to happen. It's still a year or so away. I was right. Should have put it on the bingo card.
But they arguably didn't really show much of anything. But
yeah, I forgot this happened, but they showed off a trailer for Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin, which I think we saw might be the game we saw the absolute most of throughout E3 and Summer Game Fest.
Showed up in a few
because
different
it
places,
showed up
didn't
in like 3 different showcases.
I also I remember like so they also did that musical presentation for the game Sable.
Yeah.
Which I've had my eye on that since its first announcement. It might have been 2019 E3. I'm not sure, but I remember thinking they showed it just as a little piece of it, and I was like, man, that game's got some really cool style to it, and it was nice to see that game again. And I thought the musical presentation complemented it well. So I guess got me a little more hyped for that game.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um,
That's all I got.
Before we move on, let's give an overall grade. We'll just do letter grade plus minus, like a math paper or something like that. Overall grades, ABC for Summer Game Fest kickoff. What do you give it?
I'll give it a B.
Frostbite?
A-.
I'm gonna go with a B plus. Again, Elden Ring. The A's are reserved for some hype there. So yeah.
I think we're all probably on the same page here. It's how critical we are relative to the grand scheme of things. At the time, I absolutely gave it a B, and then I think as we went on into later presentations, I was like, that was probably a better showcase than I remember it being, but I haven't gone back and rewatched it.
I said, I thought it was a good show. Pretty decent score there. All right, let's move on.
So the next thing that happened was Netflix's Geek Week. You probably didn't watch it because it had nothing to do with video games itself, but they revealed that there's a lot of video game related TV shows coming out. Just a quick overview. There's a League of Legends show, there's a Dota show, there's a Cuphead show. The next Castlevania series has been announced. It's going to feature Richter and Maria Renard. So the Rondo of Blood, probably Symphony of the Night games will be covered in that because that's what those two characters are in. There's a Splinter Cell series. There are 2 series related to Far Cry coming out. We got to look at the second season of The Witcher. They also teased a convention for The Witcher and a live action Resident Evil show has already been cast.
Yeah,
and
I saw the cast picture.
I believe that was all they showed. I think they mentioned that there's an Assassin's Creed series in the work, but they didn't actually show anything for it.
Yeah,
but if you like those franchises, there's probably a TV show for you to take a look at.
Yeah. For the record, no games announced here. They're trying to make money and capitalize off every major property. The Witcher is not based on the game, so I hate that it was there in the first place. It's not based on any video game of The Witcher. The stuff that's based on came long before The Witcher 1 ever came out, so...
presumably if the story goes far enough, won't it eventually be based on the games?
Nope. There's some weird stuff I don't think we need to cover here, but based on the way the properties are licensed, the author has disavowed all the video game stories. And if it's not considered canon to his story. So if if they decide to kind of continue to do it, he'd probably walk away from any sort of credit on it. Not to say it won't happen, but it's highly unlikely. He does not like the game stories, from my understanding. But yeah, I really don't care much about a lot of what we saw at Netflix. I haven't really watched Castlevania. I know for a lot of people that's exciting. Cuphead, though, I'll watch it.
Did you watch the teaser for Cuphead?
Of course.
Yeah, it looked very good. It looks very polished. It looks like the game presents itself as, which is as a old cartoon. So
yeah, I'm intrigued.
I'm very interested.
It makes sense. They don't have to do anything fancy totally and just take the animation as is. It works. Not a video game show though. No real game news. Mm-hmm. So I'm hesitant to give it a grade. I'm actually not going to give it a grade. You didn't complete the assignment, so you don't get a grade.
Okay, fair enough.
So we're moving on. This was all, I think Netflix was still on the same day as Summer Game Fest. But, I think the next big show to really talk about, there was a couple small ones, but I don't think we need to talk about everything small, everything that had any sort of, presence at E3. I think we should talk about some of the big ones that started to come out.
Let's just do the big ones.
So we started our coverage on Thursday afternoon, I believe. Friday afternoon, with Ubisoft.
Right.
Yep.
So, Ubisoft was about an hour-long show. They spent a lot of time talking Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six Siege.
Wait, hold on. When was Devolver?
Afterwards. Devolver was after.
afterwards?
Yeah, Devolver
Okay,
was after.
I just don't see it in these notes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Ubisoft started with, I think they spent 15 minutes of their hour-long show talking about Rainbow Six Siege.
They spent a long time, yeah.
It was a really long time talking about it. And I know a lot of people really, really do enjoy that kind of thing. Certainly wasn't my cup of tea, though. And then they covered a couple other big titles. Like Ubisoft didn't have a lot of small things that they showed. They didn't have a show that kept moving. It was, here's Rainbow Six for 15 minutes. Here's, I think, Rocksmith Plus for another 10 minutes. Here's Riders Republic for 10 minutes. And a couple other like little small like montage stuff kind of things. Assassin's Creed. Got to mention Assassin's Creed because ABC thought they wouldn't. And then they ended off with arguably the best announcement of their show, which had leaked earlier that day, but still there. Mario and Rabbids sequel. I believe it was called Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And that's where we're at. So thoughts, Frostbite. What do you think?
It's it's too bad for them. I think that leaked because I think people would have come out of that show with a much better taste in their mouths if that was a surprise, basically. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean
the first one leaked too, for what it's worth.
That's true.
Oh, is that right?
It's true. It did right before the Ubisoft show.
Everything leaks nowadays. But I've never, there wasn't that much for me in the show. I've never been too much of a fan of any of the Ubisoft franchises. I felt like they spent too much time on a couple games, and it was kind of like, okay, we get it, let's move on. I think I'm the only one here, but like I actually was a little bit intrigued, a little bit interested by Rocksmith Plus. I've always kind of wanted to give that game a try because I do play the guitar anyway, and just being able to sort of gamify it sounds like it might be fun. So I might end up checking that out. But I put this on my bingo card, which, by the way, we should talk about the bingo cards at some point. But I put that they might announce some big For Honor news, and frankly, half of that was expectant because they had said they were moving their games towards a service architecture, and I thought For Honor seems like a perfect game for that. But also, to be honest, kind of hoped that there would be some For Honor news because I have bought that game. I played it a couple years back, and I was kind of thinking like, it'd be nice to have an excuse to jump back into that game a bit because it was pretty fun to play for a while.
Yeah, I never tried it. Thought it'd be fun, but I definitely agree with you. It was like a month and a half ago, Ubisoft was saying, we're buying into the free-to-play model. That's where our business is shifting. And I sat here thinking, okay, we're going to see at least one, probably two sort of free-to-play like games. I thought some sort of Rainbow Six. I definitely thought For Honor was, when you had For Honor on there, I thought, that's the one. That's the free-to-play game. And nothing. I
think we both had it on our bingo card and it didn't show.
But it wasn't... They made this huge deal literally a month ago about the free-to-play stuff.
Yeah.
And then nothing. Absolutely nothing. ABC and I hosted this one live, so we were kind of just sitting there like, okay, we got to see what, like, every announcement.
Where's the free-to-play?
Yeah.
So, my thinking back on this is that this show had the same pacing as, I think it was the last E3 that Sony was at. The one where they brought 4 games and they did like a deep dive into each of them and had like the awkward outdoor tent set up between each of them. That took like 20 minutes between each game that they showed. Except that at least in that showcase, they showed off 4 heavy hitters.
Not only that, they had said in advance that's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. And here they showed off Rainbow Six Extraction, Rainbow Six Siege, Rocksmith, Riders Republic, which is a game that they showed last year at E3.
Correction, there was no E3 last year.
Oh, sorry, last year during Summer Game Fest. They showed off an expansion to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which the vast majority of the thing that they showed off was the Discovery Tour, which has been in the last 2 Assassin's Creed games. It's effectively the history mode if you want to just like go learn about the geography and the history of the region that you're playing, you can go play like a non-story based, non-combat involving world explorer, and people love them, but like they were in the last two games, and the last two games are effectively the same game as this one. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I think people were expecting that was going to happen anyway. It's just that it took up a big segment of that showcase. The stuff they showed from Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope was all alpha footage per a thing in the trailer. So we know that's got like a vague 2022 attached to it. The stuff they showed about Far Cry has been delayed at least once, I believe, and they showed off something about the season pass content before the game is already out, and I think that miffed a lot of people.
They also showed, and I'm not going to say we saw some more Far Cry, and we'll get to it. They didn't show any gameplay. Ubisoft is the publisher on this one. They didn't show any gameplay to Far Cry 6.
Yep. And
I mean,
the last
to be
thing
fair,
they
I think you know what you're getting with Far Cry.
But here's the thing: is that
Yeah.
but here's the thing that's the constant with this showcase is that they also didn't show gameplay, as far as we know, of the Avatar game that they showed at the end of the showcase.
Right.
And so, like, the last three things that they showed, Far Cry, Mario and Rabbids, and Avatar, either used alpha footage and aren't going to look that way when they're done, or they didn't show gameplay.
So,
and that was probably the last 20 minutes of the show. And, you know, they spent the first 30 minutes or whatever it was, first 20 minutes, showing games that were either content updates or play nearly identically to other games in those series.
Right. Now, I mean, you know, you mentioned these last three titles. Like, they did have a way to pace their show, which was, I think the pacing was really off with this one. But they did have a way to do it, so all of their big announcements were at the end. The big three that they thought would generate the most hype. So Far Cry 6 has, Far Cry as a franchise does have quite a bit of a following. I haven't played one since Far Cry 3, to be honest, but it's a great game. And they are really pushing this one because of Giancarlo Esposito, who, if you've seen Breaking Bad, he plays a good villain. So, and Far Cry is, and they made a point of this too, or we saw this actually, I think, a little later. Far Cry really is about the villains, like really about the villains. Yeah. So I understand what they were going for there, but I would have loved to see more gameplay in the Ubisoft show. Mario and Rabbids would have been a huge announcement had Nintendo themselves not leaked it earlier in the day. And that's what it was. It wasn't like some random like hack.
Really?
Nintendo opened up the eShop page. Or like 6 hours before the show. So it was public.
Yeah. I have one thought that's gonna keep coming back, and that's that a lot of these showcases, and some companies know how to do this well and some just don't. A lot of these showcases, especially like digital showcases, they can't be, you know, a slow build up to a climax right before the end of the show. They have to be like peaks to keep your attention, because as far as hype goes, it has to come in waves. And
yeah,
I don't think that they did that. I think they built up with the expectation that the last thing or the last two things, they were really banking on people being, you know, all over Mario and Rabbids and Avatar. And I think we got to Mario and Rabbids and we're like, okay, so what's the big announcement that's going to come next?
Yeah.
And then the show ended.
Right. I think you're right. And
you're going to see this again with 2 or 3 of the other shows. So I just wanted to put that out there now so that when we talk about the other ones, we can talk about the fact they built up for this one big announcement and then the show ended.
Yep. And
it's also like really hard to get hyped, at least in my opinion. It's really hard to get hyped about a cinematic trailer, because like I don't even know what this Avatar game is. What kind of game is?
So let's talk this Avatar game actually, because this was their last announcement. And they were clearly saying like this was clearly their one more thing, right? Now, we knew actually that Ubisoft was building an Avatar game. That's not new.
Yep.
We knew this. We've now seen some visuals. Guess what? Looks like Avatar. What else would it have looked like? Honestly, it looks like Pandora. It looks like Pandora, which is what it should look like. So fine.
Yeah.
But I know that, ABC and I sitting on the show, and you can go and look at this VOD, and we're gonna publish some highlights of this later. We were sitting there like, what kind of game am I looking at here? Is it a battle royale? Is it like a competition? Is it an open world? We don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny because we were watching it. If you go back and watch that VOD, that we're sitting there watching it, and like we got 2 seconds into the trailer, and I was like, oh, this is Avatar, and Cameron's is like, wait, really? And I was like, I don't know, I never saw the movie.
Well, I missed. To be fair, I missed the Navi and the.
But like there's something that's so iconic about it, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely Avatar, but I didn't know if we were watching a game or just like really high quality CGI, and because it looks like what I remember the movie trailers looking like, and in spite of all of that, I didn't feel like I watched gameplay.
You
right?
didn't.
I feel like I feel like I watched a trailer for a movie.
But that was just it. I still now, and I've watched the trailer a couple times now. Still couldn't tell you what kind of game they're going for here, and they're not saying either. My guess is that game is 2 years away at the earliest. I think maybe we'll see it earlier for one reason, which is that they might try and line it up with the sequel release for Avatar, which I believe is supposed to be coming holiday 2022. But it's a real stretch, I think.
Per IGN, it's a first-person open-world action-adventure game.
There's like 3 genres right in there.
Okay. So it's like Skyrim.
Yeah, that's
an Avatar.
That should be your takeaway, I think.
And if you're going to do an Avatar game, that's probably the way to do it. But it's hard for me to give any well, again, you said you didn't see the movie, but it's hard for me to kind of judge it in any sense without seeing some gameplay there. So that was Ubisoft.
I think what I said is they should just make it Panzer Dragoon, right? That I believe that's what I said during the showcase.
Because it's really hard for you to say this stuff.
No, I know, just because of the flying segment that they showed.
But again, you haven't seen the movie. Like when you said that it looks like a cinematic out of the movie, it really could have passed for a trailer to the original movie. It actually could have passed for a trailer to the sequel too. Like we don't know what that's going to look like yet. It could have just been a movie trailer. So yeah, like I said, that was Ubisoft. It was just over an hour of a presentation. I give them a C-. I came up a little bit. Because from my initial reaction, from my reflection, there was some stuff in there that would get some people excited. Frostbite was excited about Rocksmith. Rainbow Six is a lot of people's favorite game, so I understand why they focused on it. And Mario & Rabbids, there was some hype there if there was no leak. So I came up a little bit. I give them a C-. The pacing of that show was just all over the place, and I was bored. So maybe C.
I think you'd have to go back to the VOD to check, but I think I gave them a C or a C+. I said like there were a few games in there that probably would have been big hype machines if they had presented them better. And the games themselves may be interesting, but the way that the show itself was run was not good. And like, if Mario & Rabbids hadn't leaked, and that was the thing that they either kicked off with or ended on, and they had real gameplay to show us, would that have been, the thing that everyone was talking about instead of, yeah, we knew this was coming, whatever. So yeah, I'd C or C+, something like that.
Frostbite?
Yeah, I'm in the same range there, but I'd say like a C.
Yeah. Cool. From there, I think it was just not even an hour later after Ubisoft finished, but a half an hour. That was Devolver Digital. So Devolver Digital was not E3. Devolver Digital is Summer Game Fest. That was the first real Summer Game Fest show, I think. Devolver Digital is not usually my kind of thing. They're goofy, but their shows are fun, even though I'm not usually hyped for anything there. It was a fun show. That's about the best I can say to it.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Honestly, just like the level of meta and satire going on in there with the fake subscription what was it like?
It's Devolver Max Pass Plus.
Yeah.
Devolver Max Pass Plus. It's a subscription that is free and gives you access to game purchases.
Yeah. The line was future premium purchase games
Yeah,
They're fun.
it was pretty funny, I thought. But like what I will say though is, even though I found the like sketch part of the presentation pretty hilarious, um, I don't know if I can remember a single game that I saw.
All right, so,
It was
so
like,
let me give you let me give you a refresher. There
Okay.
was Trek to Yomi, which was the Japanese inspired black and white, looks like a side scroller uh, samurai game. There was Wizard with a Gun, which was a sandbox survival game. I actually don't remember that
right.
one. There was Inscription, which was like the horror card deck building
Oh yeah,
roguelike.
that one I thought
But
looked pretty cool actually.
there was Devolver Tumble Time, which was the mobile game that they showed. There was Death's Door, which was the not Hyperlight Drifter.
Yes.
There was
Hyperbird
Phantom
Drifter.
Abyss. Yeah, there was Phantom Abyss, which is the game I was thinking of before. That was the temple building or the temple
Yeah, that one I like.
raiding game in first person. That game I'm actually like super interested in.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's,
It looks
I think
really
it's gonna be a lot of. I think that one's gonna be a lot of fun, and I predict that eventually gets a. If it doesn't already have it planned, I predict that eventually gets a VR version, because that seems like the kind of thing that would totally get one. There was Shadow Warrior 3, which is kind of like neon-looking Doom-like combat.
Yeah.
There was Terra Nil, which I don't think they actually showed in the showcase, but it's on their showcase's website, which is the reverse city builder about ecosystem reconstruction. There was Demon Throttle, which is the arcade game that's only coming as a super rare games physical edition.
That was a pretty interesting / bizarre reveal.
Yeah.
The
Then there was
physical-only game.
Yeah, the physical only game, and then there's a huge sale on all their back catalog stuff.
Right. You know, the funny thing is about Devolver is that, you know, Frostbite, you're saying there's not really anything in there that you're necessarily hyped for, but, you know, I never get really that hyped for any of their stuff, but a lot of their stuff is fun, and I've played a good number of their games over the years. Enter the Gungeon, definitely played that. What else have we got? Yeah, Fall Guys, I'm pretty sure is Devolver Digital published. Hotline Miami. They have some good
You guys
gems
might
in there.
remember I kept hyping up Loop Hero earlier this year, which
Yep.
is another Devolver one.
Yeah, they have a lot of great titles, but nothing that says you know, ever screams Game of the Year. But the show was fun.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things that I saw where I was like, I want to play that. I want to play that. So, given that we had just come out of Ubisoft, I thought the pacing was good. I thought the games that we were talking before about the little peaks in the middle of a showcase to build hype. I thought that they got that feeling throughout the showcase. Every game that they showed felt like I could be interested in this game. I need to see more of it, but I could be interested in this game, even if it's not must be a day one purchase kind of thing. So, and as Intoxications points out, I give him 7 chili dogs out of 10. I was laughing my ass off watching the guy shove chili dogs in his face.
Yeah.
I
No, now that you reminded me, there were a couple of games that kind of stood out for me. But,
I give them a solid B-. It was a fun show, and I'll watch them just for the entertainment value.
Yep.
Anything else about anyone else want to say anything more about Devolver?
I think I gave him a B+ or an A- when I was watching it. Like that,
I'd give it a B.
It was a very solid showcase. I think it was their best showing at an E3 or Summer Game Fest, and they've had like 5 years worth of them. So
for sure. So that brings us to Saturday, and that brings us to the Xbox Bethesda showcase. I'm gonna start this one by saying this was, in my opinion, the standout of E3, so much so that I'm pretty sure it won said award at the E3 Awards yesterday, last night. For those who are keeping track, it is considered right now to be one of the best shows. I got, for the record, and we'll talk the bingo cards a little bit more at the end, 5 out of 6 of my Xbox Bethesda specific squares, I managed to score on this card. So I'm very happy with the way that this panned out. ABC and I covered this one on Saturday afternoon. So this was the first year that they did it together. Now that Microsoft owns Bethesda, which means that a lot of Sony fans are pissed because a lot of the games that were announced on the Bethesda side of things are not coming to PlayStation platforms probably ever. But you know that this one was a big show. This was about 90 minutes. This is I think the biggest show as well of E3. So we'll break it down little bit by little bit instead of kind of just rattling off the games. Let's kind of try and cover some of them going through. And they came out of the gate swinging Starfield. No, I didn't say they hit a home run. I said they came out of the gate swinging.
It was like a bunt.
They knew that people wanted to see it. They knew that Bethesda's got two big titles that we knew were in development. I mean, they have more, but we knew about two. One being Starfield, the other being The Elder Scrolls 6, which absent from the show.
We'll
totally
get back to absent games later.
Yeah. But Starfield we knew was coming first, so we were really hoping to see it. They showed it. It was just a trailer. There was no gameplay. But the big shock was that they had a solid, definitive release date. Not just a year, not just a month. They had a date. November 22nd, 2022. Plus Todd Howard.
November 11th.
Sorry.
2022.
Yeah.
You're right.
11/11/2022.
You're right. November 11th. My mistake. And that's big because Bethesda, they don't miss their release dates a lot. And you can argue that. You know, they release a lot of buggy games. They do. But they don't miss the release dates. So I'm excited for Starfield. And it is Game Pass day one. I've spent a lot of time talking about how good Game Pass is. It's going to be on, so PC, Xbox platforms, no PlayStation. And that was the big deal because they announced this game long before Bethesda sold to Microsoft. And now it's coming out saying it is not coming to PlayStation.
Yeah, that was a big bombshell they dropped on that. But I got to disagree with you. Like, well, maybe not disagree, but there's nothing to be hyped about. It's another game where there's no gameplay. We don't really know what this game is even gonna be. I assume it's gonna be like Skyrim in space, but like, what does that even look like? I don't know.
Nope, they've said it's gonna be actually a bit heavier in terms of RPG. I'm thinking actually kind of Outer Worlds like, and we'll see. Like I said, I'm not necessarily hyped for the game itself, but I'm hyped from our news about it. Because they've been pushing and talking about it and giving little bits of info for about 4 years on this one. That's, the other thing that Bethesda does is they really slow walk their games, right? So, they announce early and then they trickle out information until they have a big bang of content. So that's what they're kind of doing.
I'm on the one hand, I'm on board with what Frostbite just said, but at the same time, I want to point out that since you just compared it to the Outer Worlds, we're going to have to get back to that one.
I just meant in terms of setting. I don't know about in terms of
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that we're going to have to get back to that one.
Well, we'll get there for sure.
Yeah.
But this was, like I said, this was one that everyone was expecting to see. They were hoping to see it, and they saw it really like right away.
Yep.
So what else did we see at Microsoft? So Microsoft, I will say this, their pacing of the show was exactly what ABC you were talking about is good pacing. There were peaks, and they moved. And they moved. Yeah. They said, we're going to show in the next 90 minutes 30 games, 27 of which are coming to Game Pass, and that's what they did.
I feel like they got to, I can't remember which game it was, one game throughout the entire thing, they hung out just a little too long, and I don't remember what it was.
It was. I do remember that.
It might have been Forza.
It was Forza. So let's talk about Forza. And Forza actually came towards the end of the show. By the way, I believe Forza has already been called best in show.
Oh yeah.
It's not about whether or not it's a good game. It's just that it broke the pace that they had set throughout the showcase.
Yeah, I don't know if ABC you've ever played a Forza game. I know Frostbite you have. You were actually the one who first you were the one who recommended Forza games to me. I'm not much of a racing guy to begin with, but I will say, and I've played Gran Turismo. I had played other racing games over the years. Forza is the gold standard of racing games.
I agree. Yeah.
I played Forza Horizon 4 this past year. Actually, it's on Game Pass, so tried it out for a few hours. Yeah, it's great. This one
They're
just
pretty fun. The Horizon games.
I like the Horizon ones better than the Motorsport actually.
I think I do too.
Um, so we all knew we were getting Forza
open
Horizon
world
5.
multiplayer racing party game.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
that's the best way to put it. It looks beautiful. It looks like Forza. I don't think there's anything surprising about it. And yeah, I think you're right, ABC. They spent a little too much time on it.
Yeah, it's not my thing, and I get that. I've played a Forza game before. It's just not for me. But
That's
it
fair.
was more that and that probably doesn't help in terms of why I noticed that they were spending so much time there.
That
But
makes
at the
sense.
same time, it was like I think we were talking about the timing between games. We're like, wow, they're really going through this, and they got there, and it's like, ugh, why are you bringing out a developer to talk?
It was also near the end. We were saying that like 80 minutes into the show too, and then they hit that.
Yeah, but it's because it felt like they were going to keep going with more stuff, and I think they did have one or two more titles after that, and
They had a
still
few.
felt like well, if you didn't spend 5 minutes on Forza, what would you have put in there in its place,
Yeah.
right? Because it felt like they were just like nonstop barrage of games, and that was just the weird slow point. Also, I don't know if this is on your side or if it's on my side, Caberns, but Twitch is cutting in and out for me.
I don't
Like every few seconds, it's struggling.
I don't know.
So I don't know if you're getting dropped frames or anything, or if it's just my side.
Yes, but just in the past minute.
Okay, that's when I've been noticing it.
Yeah, but I don't know why.
Okay.
Let's just hang out for a minute while I try and fix it. Like it all of a sudden just crapped out to nothing.
We need like a technical difficulties banner.
We should totally do that.
Some elevator music.
But like it
I
literally.
mean, it seems okay. I've been watching the Twitch stream and I haven't seen a drop.
No, it's not okay. It's decided.
Now it's buffering.
It's decided.
that-
It's decidingly not okay.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why.
This is what I've been noticing for like last minute or so.
Totally no reason why
It
this
could
should be
be
the
on
case.
Twitch's end. I don't know.
I'm not streaming directly